It has 3 different kicker abilities, and depending on which one you choose, you get that effect of it. It's not like all of them. So it's a single.
You get access to either kicker, super kicker, or ultra kicker.
Yeah, mega kicker. Well, if it isn't the Cards You Missed episode. Yes, the episode of the MTG Thoughtcast where we talk about commons and uncommons from the most recent set that you can fill your commander deck with that are exciting as rares and are usually much cheaper as well. My name's Joseph. I'm one of the hosts here on the MTG Thoughtcast, and across the screen or across your ears is my brother, John Kendall. John, are you ready to talk about some hidden gems today?
I'm the final boss at the end of the JRPG.
That's right. He's the Ultima. Hey, I'm low key getting into Final Fantasy because of this. I feel like very connected to this now.
You said you started one of those games. How's that been going?
So good. I started the weirdest one. I started World of Final Fantasy, which is like the Pokemon crossover, and it's a love letter to a series that I know nothing about. But you know, that feels a lot like diving into the Final Fantasy set. Which we'll be doing a lot of today. Before we get into the episode today, if you want to support the channel, totally free, all of the buttons down below this video, likes, comments, and subscribes, help us out a ton. We just posted our 1,000 subscriber giveaway. So if you want to be a part of that, go check that video out. And if you want to be a part of the next giveaway that we're obviously going to be doing later on, just subscribe. That's all it takes to be a part of it. Helps us out a ton. You get to be in the know of all those things. If you want to be even more in the know, an insider of insiders, you can join our Discord. It's linked down below. It's totally free as well. We play commander games, we brew decks, we talk about episodes. I'm starting a limited guide, which I just posted the first one of today as of recording. So there's a ton of that stuff that happens in our Discord. You want to be there, I promise. It's linked down below. John, do you want to take us away with the first underrated pick? Or maybe tell the people about the episode?
Yeah, so if you have not seen one of these types of episodes we've done before, we all know that in especially a powerhouse stacked set like this here, like there is so much juice and gas and unbelievably stupid cards at like rare and mythic across the main set and the commander set and all that jazz. But what we like to talk about here on this show is the kind of like things that help flush out a deck. Like you need those like lower grade pieces to help fill out what your deck is all trying to do. And generally speaking, most of those really, really cool ones can be found at rarities lower than rare. And that's why we call this the cards you missed. Obviously, as well as for a set like this as well, the spoiler season for this set went on for like 2.5 weeks. So like you may have forgotten about the things that they showed 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, maybe even at this point when you're watching this. So as you start rifling around through your pre-release stuff that you just finished up last weekend, you can find all these nice little gritty pieces in here to be like, ooh, this can slot into this home, or this has got a good place as a replacement for this type of card over here. And just like, this is what we love to do. It's like exploring a treasure trove every time we get to do this.
Yeah, I feel like the spoiler season just goes by way too quickly, but also is super long. So that's why we do an episode like this. John, do you want me to take the first pick for today?
Oh, yeah. You get the first move. You get the first strike.
Awesome. Well, I'll talk about a good colorless card that I'm very, very stoked about. This is a Poo-Poo UFO.
Yay!
This is 2 mana for an artifact creature. It is a construct alien. Some Edge of Eternity support. It is a 0/4 with flying with a tap ability to put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. And then a piece of flavor text of 3 generic mana until end of turn. This creature's base power becomes equal to the number of towns you control. Man, you know I play a Rakdos landfall deck that is looking for as much put lands onto the battlefield support as possible since I'm not playing green with it. And Poo-Poo UFO is beautiful in there. And you get to say Poo-Poo UFO every time you play it.
Hey, and you know what? Even outside of that, that deck is artifact synergy as well. So even outside of the fact that this puts extra lands for you into play, outside of the green extra landfall colors, right? This is just artifact support.
Absolutely. I think this is particularly good in decks that draw a lot of cards but don't have ways to put those lands into play from your hand. Like maybe your mono white deck that's, you're playing your Trouble in Pairs, you're playing your Smuggler's Share, whatever that's getting you a bunch of card draw, but you're still only playing one land a turn. Playing a poo-poo UFO in that deck is going to make sure, like it almost plays like an exploration. Or not explores the sorcery. Exploration is the enchantment that lets you play an extra land every turn.
Right.
So any deck that you would want to be playing that in, but you don't have the color identity of green, Poo-Poo UFO is going to do some absolute work. Not to mention the fact that it's an 0/4 flying blocker. Like that alone is really good stats.
That's a good wall.
And it's not even a wall. It doesn't have Defender. It can attack later on. So you can suit this thing up with equipment. You can suit this thing up with auras, counters, whatever you want to put onto it, that it will eventually become an evasive threat in a deck that wants to do that. All the while in the early game ramping you and just putting these lands into play. Super, super good. That's why I'm starting it off with that as the first card that I missed in the spoiler season.
Seems fun with the Obzan Walls Commander we had last set as well, right? A 0/4, doesn't matter what colors you already have, that it'll then continue to get you your land drops as, I think it was Felithar was his name was. Yeah. Felithar will draw you cards, so the UFO will be able to get the extra lands that you draw off of that into play, and then when he's not relevant, Felithar will eat him for 4 more cards. Like, stupid.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of that. I also like the fact that it doesn't care, A, what type of land you put into play, and B, potentially untapped if it's a land that comes in untapped, It's not down into play tapped. So if you've got a land that has the ability to come in untapped, boom.
Dream with me for a second, John. Somebody's attacking you. You tap this. You put in a Maze of Ith. You tap it. You untap their creature. It fogs. Best card in the game.
That's easy. I can actually also just like you said with like landfall, this seems stupid to put a fetch land down into play because then that's your normal land drop for the turn. Landfall. And UFO puts a fetch and then you crack that fetch. That's 3 lands that you had no extra part in playing.
Yep. 100%. Yeah, man. It gets better the more you read it.
But what do you want to be triggering with all of these extra lands?
I bet those perhaps.
Not chocobos. Chocobos are very, very cool in this set too. Don't get me wrong. I love the birds, those silly little landfall birds. Just all of them, like especially like the creatures and the token ones that they get like a landfall boost every time you play lands. No, I want to talk about Sabotender as a real silly landfall boy. This is 1 in a red for a 2/1 plant with reach and landfall. When a land enters under your control, 1 damage to each opponent.
Yeah, super, super good.
Dope, right? Like this kind of ability isn't anything crazy new. There has been some cards that say like landfall deal a damage, but as far as I'm aware, they've only ever been like a target. Like there was like the iridescent vine lasher or something or another from Bloomburrow. That targeted.
Mana cost, they've only been a single target. There's I think a 3-drop, a 4-drop, and a 5-drop in red that all have the same ability of landfall deal a damage to each opponent. But again, they cost 3, 4, and 5. So getting one at 2 mana is really, really good. The reach feels weird on it, but I'm sure that's for flavor purposes.
Absolutely, yeah. But just like I imagine, like you get this thing down relatively early, and like in the early game is when colors like these, especially like red into green and whatever, Teamer as well, like that is when they are playing their fast things of ramp, right? Like this is on, I mean, yeah, it's in the same slot as like rampant growth, but like if you get this down before you start doing things like your rampant growths and your nature's lures and your cultivates, 3 visits, all that stuff, or even with the poo-poo alien thingy as well, right? Like you do that on 2, drop this down on 3, and then alien puts down a land, and then you play your natural land for turn. That's 2 extra damage you've done just out of the gate, right out the get-go. Not to mention the implication that this had. We've talked about these kinds of cards before that make sure that they are dealing damage to all opponents at all times. You know what I mean? Like you get stuff like Neheb that returns you mana back as opponents are dealt damage. You have things like Valgavoth, who wants to make sure that opponents are taking damage during your turn or off turn, and landfall is definitely something that you can acquire off turn as well. Anything else in red that cares about if your opponents have been dealt damage or lost life during your turn in some capacity, simply rewarding you to allow you to do that for playing the game of playing a land at probably what is going to be the cheapest mana value available. Excellent choice.
So good. I'm really excited to try this out in my O'Hare Ashnil deck. Because the landfall deal of damage to everybody is something that I've been looking at and trying to include in the deck, but at the higher mana costs, it just becomes prohibitive and it just becomes not very worth it. But having a 2-drop that does that, so that I could play him, it also, well, I guess it wouldn't trigger. He becomes a land at some point, so it would trigger it, but not with the 4 extra damage. There's some weird interactions in the deck. But yeah, that's just a nice piece to include because then that becomes landfall, deal 4 damage to each opponent.
Oh, and on top of all that, by the way, it's the creature that deals the damage. So throw your lifelink on this, throw your infect on this.
100%. Oh,
Stupid.
infect on it is so gross. I hate that we're doing that. Oh, that's so funny. Want me to take the next one here?
Head into it.
All right. So let's say you've got your Sabo Tender, you've played some cool lands, or maybe your opponent has, and you're like, that's a really cool land. I want that. You could perhaps be playing Realms Sketching. This is a blue uncommon. It's 2 blue and a blue for a sorcery. Create a token that's a copy of target artifact, creature, or land. Dude, this is dope.
That's just sick.
Yeah, 4 mana. I mean, it's ramp in blue, which is already kind of hard to come by. I love the fact that it's ramp that's not on an artifact in blue, because that's where blue really gets hosed, is by a Vandal Blast. So I would say it's fail-safe is just a 4 mana ramp spell in blue that triggers all of your magecraft and all of your prowess and everything, while also just making a copy of the best land on the field. Like I said, if there's a Maze of Ith on the field and you want one of those, or if there's a Glacial Chasm, I don't know, if there's something cool on the field that you want a copy of, you can just do that. You obviously can also just make a copy of one of your own lands, so like an Urza's Saga, I don't know, something that you want to make additional copies of. And then as you scale the game up and there becomes really good artifacts in play and really good creatures in play, this just makes a token copy of any of them. Now, it does target, so it's not quite as good as a clone where you can get around Hexproof and Shroud and things, but the fact that it just makes a copy of basically whatever you want in play is super good. I really want to make a copy of a Midnight Clock with this.
Ooh, that
now
seems
we're
real
playing
good.
Rusco, boys.
That seems real good. Yeah, I love the fact on this that like outside of like the traditional clones, we don't get much anymore of being able to make yourself token copies of things that your opponents control. These kinds of things have been lately, they've been limited to a creature or like a permanent that you control, which is still good. Don't get me wrong. If you're playing clones, you're probably playing them for the aspect of you'd like to, in a pinch, have a duplicate of something that you're already playing as well. But just the flexibility of being able to hit anything relevant on the battlefield is a huge upside to this.
Definitely.
It also, I suppose, is relevant that
Gaia's Cradle with this.
It's relevant. I think it's relevant to talk about it as well, that unlike a clone as well, this is making you a copy of something as a token. We have seen stuff over the last year or so that cares about the tokens that you have or tokens that are ready to be sacrificed. Like, that's a relevant part of that card.
Super relevant. Yeah, I think that this will slot itself into a lot of blue strategies.
Excellent. Now, what if we are looking for a fun artifact to make a token copy of? You're going to need you're going to need something to be able to grab that really cool artifact out of your deck. And I'd like to talk about I love these tutors, you know, I love a good tutor card. And I've got some hype to talk to you about Delivery Mughal.
Yeah, man. Take me there.
Delivery Mughal is stupid. I like this a lot. I mean, it's not unlike other like mage cards that we've seen before, but it's white and it has a different it's dumb. It's dumb. Let me read you the card here. So Delivery Mughal is 3 and a white for a 3/2 Mughal. It has flying, and when this creature enters, you search your library and or your graveyard for an artifact card with mana value 2 or less, reveal it, put into your hand, and if you search your library this way, you shuffle.
So good. I can't believe that this gets out of the graveyard.
Yes, that's one of its biggest aspects about that is that it rips from the graveyard as well. And then unlike some of those other things like Trinket Mage, Tribute Mage, Trophy Mage, those ones are locked to a specific mana value, right? Like Trinket only gets 1 or less, and Tribute, I think, maybe gets the 3, maybe. I get them confused from time to time. But the fact that this one is flexible, that you could go and get any artifact card that has a mana value 2 or less, so like 2, 1, 0, whatever, and also rip from your graveyard, and it's on the 3/2 flyer as well, so like it stays relevant even after it's done its tutoring, triggering, all that kind of stuff. It's really, really cool. The coolest like little interaction that I can think of like this here as well is if you are playing the Heliod Sun Crowned, you're already going to be playing Walking Ballista as your combo finish. This finds it, and not only does it find it from your library, it finds it back from your graveyard if it were to end up there before your combo starts going off.
Dang, you now sold me even more on this.
Yeah, so now you've got a reliable tutor to go and grab Walking Ballista in your Heliod deck, or just even outside of that in general, right? White is paired very frequently with Blink colors, and artifacts at 2 mana. This can get things like the egg cards that like they cycle, they draw a card, go to the graveyard, and then the Delivery Mughal itself can pull that thing back from the graveyard that you play it again, cycle it, like something like Ichor Wellspring. Right? Yeah, like an artifact energy. Yeah, an artifact synergy of some kind that like it comes down, draws your card, you sacrifice it to KCI, it draws you another card, Delivery Mughal comes in, gets back the Wellspring, blah, blah, blah. It goes on and on and on. There's a cool engine setup that Delivery Mughal helps you find the exact pieces for, both from your library and from your graveyard.
Yeah, I'm down for anything that replaces itself, let alone tutoring for something. And if the thing that you want already has gotten destroyed, this still gets it back. Like, man, this is just going to make so much inevitability while also being like a relevant, evasive body. This is a ridiculously good card. I'm glad that you caught that one. Anything that can find a Isochron Scepter as well, I am very down.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, man, I'm down here.
Blue-white, yeah, blue-white. This gets Scepter, and then you just need something else to go find Dramatic Reversal, and you're squared.
100%. Also,
Delivery Mughals and Mages. We're here for it.
This can also find Soul Ring, which is really helpful since you're playing your Eldrazi Displacer anyway. So you go find Soul Ring, then you blink the Delivery Mughal, go find something else. Like this is going to create some insane value in your decks. Really big fan of that. John, let's say somebody was going to try to kill your Delivery Mughal or try to kill your Eldrazi Displacer. I'd like to bring up a card that is really good at protecting your board.
Is it Restoration Magic?
It is Restoration Magic. This is probably my favorite of the tiered spells. There's maybe one other one, but this is my favorite of them. So Restoration Magic, tiered, for those who are uninitiated, it's kicker. It has 3 different kicker abilities, and depending on which one you choose, you get that effect of it. It's not like all of them. So it's a single.
You get access to either kicker, super kicker, or ultra kicker.
Yeah, mega kicker. So Restoration Magic is a white for an instant with tiered. It's 0 kicker, so for just a single white mana, is target permanent gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. We love that. That saves from targeted removal. That saves from board wipes. That's all I want out of my protection spells. For another generic mana, so we're now at 2 total mana into this, target permanent gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. You gain 3 life. So it just tacks a healing salve onto it. And then for 4 additional mana, so you're now at a 5 mana value spell, permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn, and you gain 6 life. So if you're holding up 5 mana, this protects everything that you own from damage, from being targeted, everything. And then you just gain 6 life on top of that, which is not irrelevant, I would say. This is the thing I love about the tiered abilities is they're good at any point in the game. So early on, you can protect one of your creatures because that's probably all you're going to want to protect anyway. Late game, it sucks having to hold up 5 mana to do it, but being able to protect your entire board at a moment's notice is very, very valuable. That's restoration magic.
And don't forget as well that additional cost cards like these as well can be affected by your cost reducers as well, right? This is not like one of those that like as you go to cast a spell, you may pay a flat rate or whatever, right? Because it says it's additional cost. Things like Goblin Electromancer. This is obviously you're in a wild combo of colors at that point there. Yeah. Or how about even something like what's the Wind Crystal? Is that the white one for the set? Yeah, something like that. That'll drop the cost of a white spell, so you can go all the way up to that max tier on this here, and something like the crystal.
The Wind Crystal is actually really good with this as well because it reduces the cost. It gives you additional life gain, and then whatever that third ability is. Hold on a second.
But also like Pearl Medallion as well. So basically you can cost reduce the additional costs that these kind of cards go into. So maybe not as heavily taxed to be able to make yourself all the way up to that max value on the card.
Yes. For posterity, the activated ability on the Wind Crystal is 6 mana, tap it, creatures you control gain flying and lifelink until end of turn. So that's something that you'd want to stick around. And the fact that the restoration magic just is target permanent means that you're not just saving a creature. If somebody Vandal Blasts and wants to get rid of all of your gets rid of your Soul Ring or your Wind Crystal or whatever, they have targeted artifact removal, a single white mana will protect that with restoration magic. As compared to something like Lauren's whatever from Brothers War, there was another single white mana one that just targets a creature. I'm going to double check myself on that just to make sure that I'm not talking out my ass.
I'm thinking, the one I could think of offhand is the closest I can think of is Blacksmith's skill from Modern Horizons 2. It's also a single white that gives a target permanent hexproof and indestructible, and if it's an artifact creature, it gets +2/+2 as well. So like that would be one of the best comparisons that I could think of.
Yeah, Lauren's Escape is what I was thinking of, which is a single white mana for an instant target artifact or creature gains hexproof and indestructible scry 1. So I would say restoration magic is a great replacement or addition to any of those if you're looking for some more protection or you're looking for a better version of it.
Excellent. What kind of spells could we be casting that could potentially be targeting our opponent's stuff that they may or may not have restoration magic? I've got a fun little yoink spell that I think is just the silliest little friend, and I would love to see what people can make of this here. This is an instant speed card in blue called Stolen Uniform.
Yep, I knew you were going to talk about it.
Yes, sir. So for a blue mana, you get an instant. Choose target creature you control and target equipment. Gain control of that equipment until end of turn. Attach it to the chosen creature. When you lose control of that equipment this turn, if it's attached to a creature you control, unattach it.
This is weird, man.
It's weird, right? So let's break this all down. Essentially what this wants you to be doing at like its baseline is that you have a creature you control and an opponent of yours has a dumb, stupid equipment that they either have sitting naturally already on their battlefield or is already attached to another creature, right? Stolen Uniform doesn't care where that equipment is on the battlefield. If somebody controls it and you can target it, that equipment is being moved over to the creature that you have chosen, and you gain control of that equipment for that turn as well. So let's say your opponent's commander is equipped with something like Champion's Helm or Sword of Fire and Ice, and things like that, right? If it's already equipped, Stolen Uniform is going to rip that equipment off of that thing and attach it onto something you control. Stolen Uniform doesn't care that if you control both the creature and the equipment as well. So if you're trying to do that stupid thing like you can do with Colossus Hammer, right? Because like Colossus Hammer's big downside is its 8 mana equip cost. If you control the creature and then you control that same equipment as well, you just do the cheat cost thing of send that cheap thing over. But then obviously being able to steal from somebody else's battlefield as well is really, really cool. The fact that you then gain control of the equipment that is thrown onto the creature of your choice means that whatever sort of like abilities, right? Let's go back to the Sword of Fire and Ice, right? Because now you control the Sword of Fire and Ice. When that card that is like when the creature connects now, the abilities that Sword of Fire and Ice does is now going to be benefiting you instead of the original owner of the card because you are in control of it. And then obviously then as well, that leads you into fun scenarios where like, oh, you're in control of that equipment. So now you get a brief amount of time, even like pre-combat or post-combat, that you can move that equipment around more naturally on your battlefield as well. Sacrifice it into something that cares about like eating an artifact, move it over to another creature, right? Because this is not... It's not locked to just being stuck on the creature that you move that equipment to. You can bounce that around your battlefield for whatever purposes that may serve as well. There is just so much weird stuff that you can do with this, of being able to gain control of somebody else's equipment and juggle it around on your battlefield for a turn, and then it goes back to them at some point. The best value you can do of that is, like I said, if it was the equipment that you stole was already attached to somebody else's creature, it goes back to their battlefield, but it remains unattached to the creature that it was originally attached to.
Yeah. I feel like two other really cool interactions with this that I want to do. First of all, I want to steal the reality ship with this, because it steals it as a creature, it equips it to your creature, and then you just get the future sight ability from it. So I really want to do that. But also, like, when somebody's attacking you with something that's equipped, you can just steal the equipment mid-combat, attach it to something, and then block. So you've now 2-for-1'd them. Like, if they've got something that gives first strike, let's say, so they have like a relevant attacker that can get through your blockers, and you just unequip the thing that's giving first strike and put it onto one of your things, kill their creature that was attacking you, and then like, yeah, if you have like a KCI in play or something that you can just sack the artifact so they don't get it back, that's incredible. But yeah, even if it just goes back, going back unattached is a huge cost, because now they have to pay that equip cost again. So Stolen Uniform has so much utility to it.
I think, don't quote me on this, I think if I'm reading this here correctly, if you do the aspect of this card that like you are already naturally in control of the creature and the equipment that you choose for this ability, you can shuffle the equipment of your choice that you already control over to a creature that you control. You don't have that lose control of it at end of turn clause, because you've already been the controller of that equipment.
Correct. Yeah. It just stays attached.
So again, back to the Colossus Hammer thing, that if you choose a creature you control and you already control Colossus Hammer, if you can shift that Colossus Hammer over to a creature you control, and then the bottom half of the card that says that it unattaches from the creature when you lose control of it, you're already the controller, so you're not going to lose control of it.
That's really sick. That's so sick. Oh my God, I didn't even think
this is
about that.
like... This is blue magnetic theft is what we're getting out of here. And this is dope, right? Because blue is an artifacts color. So of course you're going to have an unblockable. Blue is the evasion color. So who other is going to have the best suite of creatures to throw the dumbest equipment onto? I'm a huge fan of this card. This has got to be easily one of my top cards of the set.
Yeah, it's really awesome. I'll throw in like a quickie while we're talking about equipment, because there's obviously an equipment sub-theme to the deck. Oh, hey. There's obviously an equipment sub-theme to the deck. I mentioned recently in our, in Tarkir, that red has access to mana dorks now, just mana dorks. We sort of got a Birds of Paradise in red that deals with equipment. So it's Freya Crescent. This is a red mana for a legendary Rat Knight. So this is a new single mana commander that you could be playing that seems really good in a mono red equipment deck. So Freya Crescent, single red, it's a 1/1. It's a Rat Knight. It has jump. So during your turn, it has flying, and you can tap it to add a red, spend that mana only to cast an equipment spell or activate an equip ability. This is something that you'd want to put equipment on because it gains flying. It also ramps into new equipment. It does suck that they're putting the gas pedal on us actually getting a Birds of Paradise in red. But the fact that this is just single mana, comes in on turn 1, and then you're immediately onto your like turn 3 of equipment. Like you could play a Sword of X and Y on sort of push and shove on turn 2. And then on turn 3, equip this on. It's immediately attacking with flying. Really, really big fan of Freya Crescent. And then, if you're playing a red-blue deck that's dealing with equipment, I would love to see that deck, first of all. Is it equipment? Sounds incredible. But, because you could... Oh, I'm brewing now, buddy. You could play the Stolen Uniform and just throw your Colossus Hammer on. It also hold on. During your turn, it has flying. How does the layers work there with Colossus Hammer of loses flying?
I don't know.
Say it can't gain it.
Because it's like off turn, it loses it, and then it goes back to your turn and regains it. Because I know you can give a creature flying again after the Colossus Hammer. So
I would think. Let me know in the comments below if I'm wrong. But I think if you put Colossus Hammer on Freya Crescent, you can still attack with flying on subsequent turns. Because it will lose the flying on the turn that you equip it. It naturally loses flying anyway, and then it comes back. I'm pretty sure. Let me know in the comments below if I'm wrong, but this is a really good Colossus Hammer commander.
So since we're down here over in red cards, let me go ahead and tell you about upgraded Fling in the card Self-Destruct.
Yep.
For 1 in a red, you get an instant that target creature you control deals X damage to any other target and X damage to itself, where X is its power.
That's stupid.
That's
this
stupid.
Is way better than Fling.
Absolutely. So what does this have over Fling? Obviously, Fling is just you get a guaranteed sacrifice of a creature, and Fling still does the same thing of like it can deal damage equal to its power to any target. That still all is true for this card here as well, that you choose a creature, it has power, and you can deal that creature's power to any target. What this has over a card like Fling is that you get that creature dealing damage to the target of your choice and then to itself, so that it is like it's got 2 instances of being able to deal that damage. Well, we were talking about like that like the Sabotender earlier, right? You get, if you've got it has lifelink, you know what I mean? It's going to be dealing lifelink damage to the target of your choice and then back to itself, so you'll be gaining like a crazy amount of life based on that. But also, one key thing about creatures is that like sometimes, like in most instances, you get creatures who have off power and toughnesses, right? Not everything is
this like a 4/5? It survives this.
Exactly. Right. So like you just get any creature that has an off. I'm thinking like Goyfs, for example, right? Goyfs always have a higher toughness than they do their power, right? Imagine targeting Pyrogoyf with this, where Pyrogoyf will be dealing 8 damage to a target of your choice and then back to itself, but it's an 8/9 because Goyf.
Yeah, dude.
You know what I mean?
Brother, this makes me want to play a Swans of Bryn Agnel in a deck. Swans is 4 mana for a 4/3 with flying. If a source would deal damage to Swans, prevent that damage, the source's controller draws cards equal the damage prevented. So this becomes 4 damage to anything, 4 damage to itself, gets prevented, draw 4 cards.
Dude, I'm thinking about the redirect creatures. I'm thinking like Brash Taunter and Barb Servitor and Boros Reckoner. You get them crazy big and like, oh, I'll deal this damage to its power off to one thing, and then it deals damage to itself, but then then its own ability will let you go and target another player. You know what I mean?
Hey, are we playing Jeskai Pariah here? I like this, dude.
It's so good.
I don't like this right now.
All I'm saying is that if you've got a deck that cares about the card Fling or cards like Fling in any capacity, Self-Destruct is going to be an amazing piece as either a substitute or an addition into decks like that.
So good, man. I like it a lot. That's a great card. What if you want to cast it twice?
Ooh.
How about we talk about Quistis Treep? This is 2 and a blue for a legendary creature. It's a human wizard. It's an uncommon. It's 2/2, and it has an ability called Blue Magic, which is when Quistis Treep enters, you may cast target instant or sorcery card from a graveyard, and mana of any type can be spent to cast that spell. If that spell will be put into a graveyard, exile it instead. Hey, it's Snapcaster Mage. This is like a weird hybrid of Snapcaster Mage plus like Direfleet Daredevil, because it can get from other people's graveyards as well. But man, this is so sick. Like it's a 3 mana sorcery speed Snapcaster Mage that gives something flashback functionally for its mana value. It also lets you cast it, which is relevant for like Magecraft and things like that. Yeah, just being able to have any of your stuff, obviously locked to sorcery speed, so you're not going to get counter spells with this, which is what makes Snapcaster Mage so good. But just getting to recast the best instant or sorcery in anybody's graveyards is unbelievably powerful. I don't think you're actually going to want to get self-destruct with that. That was just a segue. But this is a really, really cool version of Snapcaster, let alone a legendary creature. So you could play this in the command zone if you wanted to. I don't know if you
build a 6 synergy of like doing like mill on your opponents, and then this comes down in play, and whatever you've milled into their graveyard, you've got access to Snapcaster.
Yeah. Or like this is really good with Brain Freeze. Like you do all your stuff, you know, High Tide, you get all of your rituals, then you Brain Freeze, and then you play Quistis and you Brain Freeze again. That's game. Like that's just game. Really good with things like Remand or any like Narset's reversals. Like when I was mentioning in our deck building episode about Emmett Selch, this has the if that spell would be put into a graveyard, exile it clause. So if you have anything that either returns it to your hand, exiles it with time counters, stuff like that, you just continue the chain going, and Quistis becomes a very powerful engine piece of.
Delightful.
John, what are you trying to flashback with Quistis?
Oh, well, I had the wrong card queued up for that. Dang it, Joseph.
Taking you away.
No, I didn't have one queued up for that, but it's a very, very cool Snapcaster ability. I guess just like last one I want to go ahead and talk about then for today is how about a cheap downgraded version of one of Standard's strongest legendary creatures right now.
Okay, talk to me.
Yeah? What do you think I'm talking about?
I'm not sure, actually.
You're not sure? Okay. There's this menace running around in especially Brawl. His name is called Bristley Bill. Have you?
Oh, yeah.
Have you wanted Bristley Bill too, but also on an uncommon that you can make clones of, and then you can also just start beating face with because it does that too? Why not? Let's ride the shoe puff. Yeah. Jump Bristley Bill on the shoe puff. You see, like, you know.
Yeah, I get it.
Cowboys. Yeah. That was me explaining the joke. I'm explaining the joke to you for entertainment.
Hey.
Ride the Shoe Puff is 1 and a green for an enchantment. Landfall. When a land enters under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Haha, it's Bill. And then for 7 mana, this enchantment becomes a 7/7 beast creature in addition to its other types. Not until end of turn. That's just... Yeah, that
doesn't go away.
Nope, you just pay whenever you feel up to it. You pay 7 mana for a 7/7. That's it, which is amazing cool. Because like, here's the thing with like cards like Bristley Bill and like the kind of deck that you would build a deck like with Bill is that you get your big beaters, you start putting 1/1 counters on them like mad, and then if something comes up that they go unprotected or they get into bad combat scenarios or a board wipe happens. What do you do from there? You've played all of your landfall things, and unless you've already set up a synergy of some kind that you have constant, repeatable source of lands every single turn, you know, like if utility pieces like Ramen-Up Excavator get to be like collateral damage when a wrath happens, what do you like? How do you even properly rebuild past that point where, like, you know, you got to get your big beaters back down into play and then your support pieces to get all of your extra land drops going? And if all of those go down all in one go, you're probably out of that game, for lack of a better term, honestly. So the ability to have Bristley Bill's +1/+1 counter on any creature you control stapled onto an enchantment makes it much harder to get that taken off of the battlefield by traditional creature removal. And then should a big board wipe happen of some kind and you need a beater ready to go off of all that extra land drops that you've been doing, Ride the Shoe Puff itself can just become a 7/7 that the landfall can then start targeting itself.
Yeah, really, really good. That last ability reminds me a lot of Haunted Screen from Duskmourn, which I played a ton of in Limited. It actually, to me, brings up the perfect time to talk about quadrant theory, which, do you know about this, John?
I'm not familiar, no.
So it's a way of evaluating cards and whether they're good or not by using 4 different kind of quadrants on how good it is in each scenario. Early in the game, late in the game, when you're ahead and when you're behind. And Ride the Shoe Puff is pretty good in all of those cases. Early in the game, it's an engine piece that just starts putting +1/+1 counters down, so it's good there. Late in the game, it becomes a 7/7 that can continue to put onto itself. When you're behind, So later in the game when you're behind, it becomes a 7/7, which is a really good blocker, continues to do itself. And then if you're ahead in the game, it becomes another, like, it's just good in all of these scenarios. It gives you an additional beater that will end the game faster. So Ride the Shoe Puff might be the most perfect of these cards in a landfall deck where you're going to be triggering this often and have access to 7 mana, but you're playing green, so of course you do. This is unbelievable pick, and this is a great textbook example of a really good Quadrant Theory card.
Keep riding on, Shoe Puff.
Keep riding on. Can I tell you, maybe ending the episode here on a card that is bad that I really like?
All right, I'm excited for it. Tell me about it.
This is Overkill. This is 2 in the black. 2 in the black for an instant. Target creature gets -0, -9,999 until the end of turn. No, I don't think this card is good. Yes, I think this is awesome.
No, I mean, think about it, right? It's like, this is going to kill anything.
100%. Tragic Slip sees a ton of play, and you have to work around that to get the -13, which does kill basically anything. There's nothing that 9,999 reduced toughness doesn't kill in the game. There's not one card. So this will kill anything. It gets around indestructible because you're just reducing its toughness. There's arguments for this to be good. I don't like it at 3 mana. I do like that it's instant speed, but hey, it's Overkill.
Have you seen the combo with this card?
No. What's the combo with it?
Okay, so last pre-con set, the Dragons of Tarkir, one of the decks came with a new card called Jaws of Defeat, I think the card is called. It's an enchantment that it says that when you have a creature enter under your control, a opponent, I think it is, it's either a opponent or multiple opponents, loses life equal to the difference in power and toughness from a creature as it enters. If you overkill your own creature as it comes into play, the Jaws of Defeat will check last known information of the card that entered, which it'll see as whatever its power is, and then the -9,998 or whatever.
That is insane. What a ridiculous combo.
Does it go to an opponent or is it each opponent? I don't have the card up.
Difference that powers target opponent loses life. So you get to take one person out, but the Jaws of Defeat sticks around, and if you're playing like Quistis, you could get it back and do it again. It actually works. If you're playing a blue-black deck, you could play Quistis with that trigger on the stack, recast Overkill. It dies to itself and shoots somebody dead. That's so sick, dude. All right, we're doing it. We're playing Snapcasters and Overkill. Welcome to the MTG Thoughtcast.
Oh, man.
Dude, that's awesome.
And I think on that brings us to the end of our show.
100%. How could we end any different way?
Exactly. And overall, as we reach the tail end of our content for Final Fantasy, what do you think of this set as the first now obviously not the first Universes Beyond booster set, but especially the first one going into standard as well, the standard Universes Beyond booster set. Everything that we've got in this as far as the card designs and its flavor and artwork and mechanical designs and things like that. What do you think about this set?
It feels really cool. I think the legendary as a sub theme is obviously good for us commander players. I don't expect to see much of this taking hold in standard or any like rotating 60 card formats, but I do expect to see a lot of Final Fantasy in Commander in the coming years. Our favorite rotating format.
Exactly, right? Like I know the tons of brews that are going on with Vivi right now. They're gonna slowly be taking over as probably the most competitive new Commander from this set.
Definitely. Well, and I think Vivi is probably the one that will see the most play in standard as well. It's just a ridiculous card. So I think that they kept the power level low enough to where it like makes sense for us kind of casual commander players while not absolutely destroying the game which obviously is the fear with Universes Beyond products, especially ones being in standard and in 60 card formats. So I like what they're doing. I think I would have liked to see maybe a slightly higher power level from this, which again would have been the case if it was like the Lord of the Rings set, where it was injected into, it was, in the place of a Modern Horizons set, so it was slightly higher power level, which is why that one was such an insane set. This I don't think will have the staying or the holding power. There isn't a One Ring in this set. There's not like a chase card that goes in every deck that makes everything better, that's going to make these huge waves in CEDH. I think there's really cool additional pieces for established strategies, which really, really is nice. There's just not a ton of like new strategies that I see breaking out from this set, which makes the brewer in me a little bit sad. It's kind of hard to like. I mean, obviously we have like Sid, we have like a new Relentless card, we have some additional artifact strategies with new equipment abilities and like the job select cards, things like that. So I expect to see
the Saga creatures. That's a very cool archetype.
Are also awesome. That anybody who's playing like Rendmaw or Baba La Saga is gonna really like those enchantment creatures because they're two types at once. There's a lot of rectangle theory going on in this set. There's a ton of 2-for-1s just on singular bodies. So I love seeing that. It kind of feels like the new era of Magic that we're in is like, if something doesn't 2-for-1 when it comes in, it's probably not worth playing. And we have a lot of that in this set. Man, I'm pretty stoked for it. Like I said, I've been slowly dipping my toe into getting into the games of Final Fantasy. So getting to kind of meet these creatures for the first time in their games, kind of working in reverse order, has been neat. As I see some like Chocobos and Malboros kind of appear in the game. I'm like, oh, I know what that does because of the Magic card. So I'm sort of doing a reverse order of how to do it. But overall, great set. I'm playing pre-release, so I'm excited to get to go to play this in sealed. I will play this a ton in draft, and I certainly will be adding a lot of these cards to my commander decks.
At time that you all are watching or listening to this, pre-release would have already happened at this point, but I'm actually also in the same boat. I'm also going to be able to go do pre-release for this set as well. So I hope everybody either already enjoyed doing their pre-release, or maybe you're doing a late pre-release or something like that. Look forward for all of these sweet common and uncommon cards that you could just spice up your decks with a little bit. But I like this set as well. I'm only just really disappointed in, I guess it's mostly just myself, because just like what you said, I'm unfamiliar with this flavor. Like, I'm kind of not, I don't know a thing about this franchise at all. And that, for lack of a better term, that is a deciding factor for people when it comes to going to play a set like this,
Definitely.
Like, am I going to have all the head knowledge for you in the world when we come like into the end of this month with like Spider-Man and Avatar? Yes, absolutely. Because those
I can't wait. Take me there, brother. Can we time travel?
Those are franchises that I'm familiar with, but I don't know Final Fantasy. And so even like, I can read a card and know it just as a Magic card, but I can't grasp what the iconography or the character or the flavor is. And genuinely, that can sometimes be a draw when it comes to a product like this. And obviously as well, like, there seems to be some availability issues going on with this as well. We had talked several episodes back before that, like, according to pre-sales, this is one of the highest selling Magic products of all time, but it still also is just becoming unavailable for very like casual audiences as well. And that also is a draw when it comes to how much of this product and how many of these cards people can get their hands on.
Yeah, I mean, collector boosters are a limited release product, so those, whatever is available of them is what's available. Those will sell out super quickly. All of the collector, like the serialized cards, are going to be very expensive. All of like the surge foils and things that come in the collector boosters are going to be really expensive. So I would say if you can get your hands on some of those at a decent price, probably worth it. But then, of course, the play boosters are going to be reprinted for as long as the set is continuing to be bought, which seems like it will be pretty often. So I would say the commander decks and the play boosters should be a reasonable price at some point. Obviously, MSRP is higher on this because it's a Universes Beyond product and it's its own IP, so it kind of has an IP tax on it, which is a bummer. I will say, when Universes Beyond kind of got introduced, the whole thing that Mark Rosewater keeps on talking about is like Magic is a buffet and there's stuff for everybody and you don't need to be engaged with everything at all times. And I feel like they're kind of backtreading on that a bit with having Universes Beyond standard products. Because if you want to play standard, which is a very popular format, you have to be involved in the Universes Beyond products. So I see that this is the direction they're kind of going, where they're going away from a buffet to a fixed menu of like, if you want to play Magic, you have to be engaged with Final Fantasy, and you have to be engaged with Spider-Man, and you have to be engaged with Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I don't see as a bad thing, personally. I kind of feel like Magic now is like when we were kids and you just had a toy box full of random IP toys and like Darth Vader and He-Man were friends. Like I enjoy the kind of whimsy of that. I also understand why people wouldn't like that. And this is maybe dipping the toe in that direction, which I'm not a huge fan of, but overall, I think the set's sweet.
Yep, it's very cool. And so on that note, we would love to hear from you about what your thoughts about this set is. What kind of uncommons or commons or even some of your rares? Let's just go ahead, open up the conversation doors. Tell us down below in the comments on what you are most excited about for a set like this. What kind of new commander decks are you planning to build? And what sort of singles and multi-packs or whatever are you planning to buy from this product? How'd your pre-release go? I'd love to hear about it. Talk to me about it down below. Or you can come talk to us over on our Discord channel where we're going to be available all the time. You can just literally reach out to us and we'll respond to you pretty much instantaneously.
That's the easiest way to get a hold of us by far is Discord.
Yeah. Come be a part of our community over there. We have a grand old time. You can also find Joseph and me and our main channel here, the Thoughtcast, on Blue Sky. We have at MTG Thoughtcast.bsky.social. You can also find myself and Joseph at John-Thoughtcast and Joseph-Thoughtcast, respectively.
That's right. Or you can send me an email at mtgthoughtcast@gmail.com. This has been the MTG Thoughtcast. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.